Hello, this is Quentin at ServiceNow, part of the automation engine team, Solution Consulting. I just want to show a quick demo of our IntegrationHub Kafka trigger that you can use to consume Kafka messages that are coming in the Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, the Kafka that ServiceNow is managing, is hosting. So here I've created a flow and I'm going to walk you through it. This is just to kind of demystify some of the concepts that come with Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. So I've created a very simple workflow, and as you can notice this workflow has a particular trigger. It has a Kafka trigger. Usually a workflow is triggered based on an update or creation of a record, or we see a lot of customers using REST API trigger, so they can trigger the workflow from an API, or simply a workflow triggered based on a service catalog item requested on a portal, for example. In my case, I'm using the Kafka type of trigger, and the whole point of this is to be able to perform action and engage a process when specific message arrive in a Kafka topic. So here I've created in my demo environment an employee info topic. That's the name of my Kafka topic. And there's various options to decide how you want to start to process the message in that Kafka queue on that topic. So when a bunch of messages arise for that specific topic, this will be triggered. And the flow, based on the configuration that you have, it will try to pick up as many messages as it can. And then you have to put logic in the workflow to process those messages, to do something with it. So here I just added a loop action, so I can loop over the list of messages. If you look at the data pile, the Kafka trigger will return an array object. So you want to loop over this array, and so you can grab the payload for each, or the payload, the header, or of the key for each of the message that the flow is picking up, right? So I'm just doing a log step. I'm just for debugging purpose, so I can display the payload every time I'm going over that loop. And here I just wanted to show you how you can extract data from the payload. I'm simply using an IntegrationHub JSON parser step to parse the data coming from the Kafka message. The Kafka message is sent as a JSON format because that's the way I'm sending the data in the Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. So I simply created, so I'm going to show you an example. I've created that step and I'm parsing the JSON payload just using the JSON parser step, so I don't have to script anything to get my data from the Kafka message. And then I'm putting this in an action output, and I'm using that action in my little workflow there. So basically what I'm doing, looping over the Kafka message that arrives in the Kafka topic. I'm parsing for each message that I'm getting, I'm parsing the payload, and I'm using the information I get from the payload. First name, last name, I don't actually use the date of birth, and I'm creating a user record in ServiceNow. That's just a very simple example, just to show that you can grab data from Kafka and do something about it, do something with it. Here I'm creating a record. It could be updating a status in ServiceNow, it doesn't really matter. You do whatever you want once you capture the data from Kafka. That's the main point of the Kafka consumer. And then of course I have activated it. So now I want to show you this in action. So I'm gonna go on my MacBook there. I'm gonna clear the screen. And I want to send a bunch of employee metadata, so I can send it to the Kafka Stream Connect for Kafka, and then have my workflow triggered to, for each of the message, generate an employee record or a user record in ServiceNow. So I've created that simple file. It contains some user information, username, first name, last name, and date of birth. And I have a very simple script that leverages the Kafka CLI, the Kafka client. So I'm going to open that script so you can see, oops, sorry, made a mistake. VI process, I've called process info. That script, what it does, it loops over the file that contains a bunch of information, the list of user. And for each of the user, I'm using the Kafka producer script. This is nothing to do with ServiceNow. This is the open source Kafka CLI. And I'm pushing this to the instance via Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. So for each of the line in that document, we're sending this to Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. And the goal is to show, hey, how we can consume this data that's coming quickly to the messaging bus, to Kafka, how I can have a workflow triggered. So the whole goal, once I'm done triggering that script, we should see that workflow, looping over the message and adding user account in the platform on ServiceNow. So let's run that little script. And then you can see there's probably a better way to send data, to produce Kafka to data from outside the platform. Here I'm just doing a simple Unix script to go over each of the file and producing message to the Kafka bus. To a specific Kafka topic. So this is obviously everything is pre-configured. I've configured my Kafka client with the property file to communicate to the Bootstrap server, the dedicated Kafka endpoint for my instance. I've configured a certificate so I can authenticate from that Kafka CLI to that Kafka endpoint on the ServiceNow side. So now I'm gonna go and we're gonna see if there is execution happening. So I'm still on that workflow, and because we send data to the Kafka, let's see the execution tab. So you can see 429. So that's actually right now, just now. If I open this, you should see that we've looped over 6 items. So we have received the Kafka, the Flow Designer have received a message from the topic, and I've read the different messages coming from that topic. And you can see that we went over 6 messages at a time. Let's say I'm sending 50 messages. You may see 5 or 6 iteration or run time for that workflow. So it may not be done processed by one workflow, but multiple workflow. That's why you configure how you want to process in the Kafka trigger. I'll show you in a minute. So if I go back here and I click on log, you should see the payload for the record number 6 for the message. And for each message, I'm showing the data. So that's what the workflow is reading directly from Kafka. And for each of them, I'm parsing the payload so I can nicely put this in fields and have values. And then I'm creating user record from that information right there. So now you can see the record was created. I'm just putting a user ID, user first name, last name, an email. And if I go in and refresh my sys user table, you should see that record that was created a minute ago. Right, so you see all those records, and you can see Stream Connect demo. That should match exactly what I have in my workflow. So all those records were just created a minute ago, and they were creating using metadata that was produced from outside of the platform, sent to Stream Connect for Apache Kafka from a Kafka CLI. It could be sent from a Kafka replicator if you have an on-prem Kafka deployment and you want to replicate those messages to the Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. It will be exactly the same. You will have a workflow that will likely consume the message and extract the Kafka message, and then you can put your business logic within the workflow. If I go back to the workflow, the original workflow, what I was trying to explain, this is those specific settings in the trigger. Here you can let the system optimize how many messages we're going to be processing for one instance of the flow. Or you can override and say, hey, that flow, I want to have a new execution of the flow for every 5 or 10 messages coming to the bus. This is just about time processing, and how much data you want one instance of the flow to process at a time. So it's just some more granularity and flexibility in how you want to process the data coming in the topic. So I hope that was useful. We just have seen in that quick demo how you can consume Kafka message using Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, and specifically using the Kafka trigger in Flow Designer. So I hope that was clear. If there is any question, I'm sure you'll be able to find a ServiceNow person who can point you to me, Quentin from ServiceNow. Bye.